Welcome back to another Volvo 460 turbo video. Today we're going to try and tackle getting the manifold off. We might need to take off the plenum here, but the exhaust and the share, oh, that's not very good. There's a bolt missing on this stud, a nut missing on this stud. So we've got several nuts and bolts to take off. So on these engines it shares an intake and an exhaust, and you can see why it's difficult to get to, because the bulkhead is just here. You've then got to climb over the engine and get underneath. Also it was my birthday the other day and I now have a fantastic nice gazebo to work underneath. Keeps me nice and dry. I've tied the guy lines to the car because the car is the best weight. It's a little bit breezy today, so I've tried my best to make sure that it doesn't really move so much in terms of weight. And the poles, this is brand new. I expect this to get wrecked while I work on cars and whatnot, but it's got a reflective sort of heating or a coat on it, so I can put a heater in here while I'm working just to help keep warm. Speaking of heaters, the Volvo 480, formerly known as R7, is now currently undergoing demystification. It's getting a lot of moisture in it, and yeah, it's all coming off the sunroof onto the back of the seats, which clearly none of us want. Hopefully there's no puddle in the back of the pocket there. What I'll do is I'll close that. That should reduce some of the moisture getting onto the seats and the fabric. But it's quite damp in the carpets and whatnot, so I've put a heater in, try and help it dry out a bit while I work on Ray-Le-Otter for the day. It's just a shame that I didn't cover it over sooner. Oh no, we've got a mouldy steering wheel as well, which is not good. What's that? Oh, that's felt. So okay, we'll let that dry out for the day, and then once it's dry, or at least at a reasonable state of dampness, so to speak, I will cover it over with a tarp. So yes, I've got some plastic sheeting that we've used for decorating. I believe I've got some duct tape somewhere to tape it on with, so fingers crossed that that is enough to stop it from getting too wet. Alright, so we'll crack on with the exhaust manifold, get the engine stripped down. I've got two kinds of gasket as well. I've got a standard B18, well, it's what people say is an 18 FT, and then I've also got this other gasket here as well. So this kind of gasket, if you can see that. I've also got a starter motor, so I can do a little bit of starter motor and cabling. Excuse the dog's barking. Alright, catch up with you in a little while. Welcome back to another 460 turbo video. Just a little update. The turbo is now off, and you can see partly, well, to get the manifold off you need to take the turbo off. So I've stripped off the hard line. This is one of the boost pipes. I think I will need to replace that because that's gone soft, and that's underneath my charge pipe here. So yeah, that will need to be replaced at some point. I'll have to see what I can do about that because I haven't really got this funny angle, and it's also a step down just to be doubly awkward, so it goes from a larger down to a smaller size. at a weird angle. So I'll have to see if we've got some replacement parts for that. Now, the other issue that I was having is the starter motor. So you can see, looks relatively healthy back here in terms of the starter motor. The difficulty is getting to it because the turbo is in the way. The turbo sits sort of around here, sort of thing, covers it, shields it, keeps it warm, makes it hot. It should have a heat shield in between, in my opinion, but they haven't thought to do so. Either that or it was taken off by whoever, previous owners somewhere along the line. So that's the story with that at the moment. Now I've got a lot of oil back here. Doesn't look like it's coming from anywhere specific. I can only assume it's coming out of this hose pipe because it is a bit big for the oil feed for the turbo. So we'll have to maybe look into that a little bit. What else was I going to say? So it looks like some of these bolts and things are coming off quite nicely. There should be 2 nuts and bolts there as a bracket to hold the turbo. That's the turbo support, and then it just floats here off of that and off of the manifold, really. Manifold itself looks okay. There's no evidence of any leaks immediately at this moment in time, and that's not to say there aren't any. So stay in there, you. Right, so we're going to continue. There's my speedo down here, speedo cable. Yes, so we're going to continue with getting this apart. I'm going to take the start motor out as well because this is playing up. This cable here plugs into the loom and goes back to well, this is the ignition essentially. Comes back here, and I've taped it up previously, so this might be what the issue is. What I'll do is I'll probably cut it back here, solder it, shrink sleeve it, and put a new connector on the end, because it is only a spade connector at the end of the day, if I can get it off. So yes, we'll have a look into that. And this is an auto electro motor. This was new old stock, a year put on the car a year before I got it MOT'd. So it could have been sat on a shelf for a very long time and got a bit old, which is why I'm having the occasional trouble starting it. While I'm here, I'm also going to replace this cable back up to the battery using my new battery, what do you call it, battery terminal set, I guess. Probably the best description I can offer. So yeah, I don't really want to split the plenum and the intake manifold. That's not ideal. We might have to, just to get the, well, no, we should be okay. There's a little bolt that connects in down there on the front, connects to this plastic pipe, which I've double sleeved to try and prevent it cracking. Take the throttle body off, so hopefully that's alright. Yes, getting there. Welcome back to another Volvo 460 turbo video. Apologies for the aspect ratio, but there we go. We have a failed exhaust side gasket. So there we are, look, started leaking out around this gasket section there. So this is the exhaust manifold, lovely little bit of flexi there. The manifold itself, upon a quick visual inspection, looks okay. There doesn't seem to be any cracks or any sort of problems there. Bit mucky in places, but yeah, that's the back end of the engine. Nobody can see it, nobody can get to it. So that's what it should look like. And that's what it looks like at this far end here. Now I had a mixture of nuts and bolts on it. Unfortunately, I've had to split the plenum off. I'm not very happy about that because that was a fairly new gasket last year. I've managed to get another one, but it's still not the point. It's annoying. Out you come, manifold. Oh, don't fall back onto it, plenum. Yeah, because I can't get the plenum up and over the engine hook there. So, annoyingly, while it's attached to the exhaust manifold, because it hugs the engine, you've also got this. You've also got this shield here that protects the injectors and the pressure rail for the injectors, as well as the fuel line from all the heat, so it don't boil off. And yeah, you cannot get it away from the engine without splitting the manifold, the plenum and the intake, annoyingly. So hopefully, trying to do this one-handed. Apologies. What I want to see is a damaged gasket on the inlet side as well, because problem is, there we go. Problem that I've been having is a cold start issue. Extra air getting in. This is a pretty old and manky gasket anyway. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got the one grit. Here we are, let's have a look. Here is the gasket, and we've got a fail here, which is pretty much where it was coming from. We've got it leaking in there. Oh look, tappets while we're here. So here we are. What I plan to do is replace the studs as well. One of them's come out on this corner here, which is quite nice of it to do so. I've done what one of the forum members has done, and grab. Yeah, there's another fail point here. Look, so this gasket was ready to be changed, which is fair dues at the end of the day. I'm glad I ordered both types of gasket. Thank you for Jeff, who wrote to me and asked to make sure that I did have the right gaskets. Yes, I did, but thank you for making sure and reminding me. Much appreciated. But yeah, everything apart from the leaking gasket looks okay back here. So I'm going to take the studs out. I'm going to run a nice blade over it, clean off the gasket material. Tappets and the tappet seals look relatively okay to my eyes. Not really too much carbon build up, which is good. So this one, a little bit oily, a little bit rich on the old gas. So what we'll do is we'll throw in some brake cleaner as well, if we can get hold of some in a short term. I'd like to replace this pipe at some point, but I don't know where I can get these fittings from. But anyway, onwards and upwards, things are progressing as I like. So catch you in a little while. Welcome back to manifold gasket change. So here we go, shiny new studs in. So this one here, bit stuck, Well, I wonder if I turn this around, does this change your aspect ratio on the TV? No, I don't think it will. But this is the scary bit, having to tap these out. You can see the thread is okay, little dirty in places, but still, tapping these out is not my idea of fun. I hate tapping at the best of times, so yeah, we'll clean the gasket in a minute anyway, or the gasket faces, put the new studs in, get the gasket on. But yeah, I hate this bit. I hate tapping. So here we are, back at a 460 turbo video. Well, I've essentially cleaned the back of the block. I've still got some bits to go over. I'm going to go and grab a sponge with a scouring pad just to get some of this off. This is the worst affected bit here, but generally it's getting there. So the back of the block is nice and clean. I've been using this Amber Cleanse anti-static foaming cleaner. It is really good stuff. It's essentially just like a oven cleaner, Sif oven cleaner or whatever it is. So again, scouring pad on that, on the exhaust. Manifolds, the intakes come up relatively nicely. Probably, if the missus will let me go and give them a wash, the rinse off in the sink. And I've just been using this brush to get in and out the little nooks and crannies. And I also took a bit of liberty to try and clean up the back of the block here because it's very oily. I suspect, as I say, this pipe here off the hard line, I've probably got it a bit too big and it's weeping oil out from the turbo. So, right, sponge and a light because it's pretty dark in this tent. And then I've got the start motor up there as well as the gasket sitting on the bonnet waiting to go. Hopefully we can get those done by the end of play today. That'll be that. This seems to be doing quite nicely. The mist in the side windows is at least cleared up. It's just on the main front. I've got this set to 24. I don't want it getting too hot because it will start making the glue on the headlining come apart. Yeah, again, still a little bit of moisture on the sunroof there on our 7, Rescue 7. I will get round to welding it back up again, start cutting out all the old metal, and then hopefully that'll be that. So catch up with you in a little while. Welcome back to another Volvo 460 turbo video. So here we are. We are now torqued back up to spec. I've had to use a couple of old bolts, studs, because I don't have, or I didn't order enough stainless steel studs with flare nuts. I've got 9 when I should have got 12, but there we go. So I will quickly put the starter motor on. I'm getting tired now, so apologies for my speech delays and whatnot, but yes, tiredness, getting tired. It's getting a bit cold as well. The light, or at least the light in here, is fading, which is why I've got the torch on. So I'll get this put back together. I might forego the splodge of RTD in the hope that the clamping force, because it is silicon after all, the clamping force might help it. If not, I've got a top gasket. I'm just being lazy here. because I want to come back and do the smoke test, just to make sure that my gasket is fine. So yeah, so here we go. That was a brand new gasket a couple of years ago. Now look, still good. I'd rather get a new one, but it costs. It's expensive. I think that gasket itself was 50 quid, where I could get a head gasket, manifold, sump gasket, and the rest of them for 90 quid on eBay total. So it didn't really sort of seem to make any sense. Here's the old manifold gasket. As you can see, bit cruddy. Couple of little breaks and tears. Okay on the whole, but it's just down to this end. It failed completely. Although I must say, I found a few of the bolts loose. There was a couple of bolts missing on it, which annoyed me somewhat, because I should have picked that up when I had the engine out last. But you don't think of these things until they happen, and I wasn't going for a full-blown stripped down job on it. All I wanted was the engine out so that I could get behind it, get to the turbo, get to the starter motor. I still need to replace at the moment, but I'm getting there. And a couple of other little jobs and bits and pieces. So, but on the whole, we are getting there. We are nearly there. I'll get this all buttoned up so it's at least somewhat weatherproof, because I don't really want that exposed to the elements there. But yeah, apart from that, I'm fairly happy with how the job's gone. We are torqued to spec, 15 foot-pounds, or I think it was 20 newton meters. There we are, the new studs. The old ones came out pretty easily. They're only torqued to 7 newton meters, as far as I could pick up from the book. So, not very tight at all, so I've snugged them up by hand and just checked them with the torque wrench. Mine doesn't really go that low, I don't think. Let's have a butcher's. Got to take the tension off the spring anyway. One-handed. Bear with. Mine goes about 6.8 is the lowest it will do, newton meters. Or 5 foot-pounds. So there you go, 5 foot-pounds on the torque wrench there. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish getting her back together. I need to get this tent down before it gets too dark, and we'll catch you a little bit later. Ta for now.